advantage. They hold too many sectors. Alpha sector is now under our control.
One down!
Stop the U.S. forces from conquering every sector.
Took one down! Loading!
So this is the third consecutive video I've made covering Battlefield 2042, and it's not something I expected after the initial poor launch. I was hoping leading up to the release that I could use this game as an anchor for my channel as I transitioned away from Warzone content, and it's kind of cool to see that slowly happening now. My last video on patch 4.0 has also gotten over 600 views, which is a good amount for my channel, and it's really great to see the renewed interest around this game now that the initial negative sentiment is starting to die off. With this video though, I wanted to cover some of the leaks, rumors, and upcoming content we have releasing for the game that have been showing up recently on Twitter. To start off with something that's completely confirmed, we saw a DICE employee going by Stratford87 on the EA forums responding to a post about the specialist voice lines. In this post, he's confirmed that changes are coming to the tone and style of these voice lines in a future update, but there was no concrete date given. Could be in an update in May, could be part of Season 1, could be part of the specialist rework that DICE has planned. I'm really excited for this though. I don't think the personalities of most of the specialists really suits the world of the game. Irish is the only one I wouldn't change much, and I'd love to see the others move in that same direction. I also quite like the post-game flow in Portal, where the characters are just frozen in a pose. Something about that is kind of cool to me, but I'd be totally fine with ditching the post-game voice lines altogether and opting for poses, as long as they stay within the tone of the universe. It's something that could also be easily monetized like we see in Halo Infinite, so it's a win for both sides. On top of that, we have a variety of things from Temporal. If you don't know who Temporal is, he's a very prominent data miner in the Battlefield community. He essentially finds things hidden in the game files that would indicate some changes that are upcoming. It's important to keep in mind that with data mining, some of the things we see might not ever happen. Some files could be there for development purposes, or some could simply be old files that haven't been removed yet, so take everything I'm going to cover here with a grain of salt. I'll leave the link to Temporal's Twitter if you're interested in checking it out in the description below. There's a lot of stuff there in addition to what I'm covering, and I really think it's worth looking over. To start with one of the more basic things coming from him recently, Temporal was able to find some assets that would be used for the in-game store. One image appears to be the landing page for the store, breaking down the purchasable content into multiple categories. The other appears to be a design for a screen where the player would purchase in-game currency, presumably in order to buy cosmetics and other microtransactions similar to what we see in Call of Duty. It's nothing out of the ordinary for this kind of thing, but it does indicate that the in-game store will finally start having some content in it. I've seen a lot of harsh criticism about this popping up online recently, and I just wanted to give my view on some of this. I find it all a bit funny, honestly, at its base level. When the game released, I remember a lot of people expressing dissatisfaction about the lack of content in the store, regardless of the state of the game itself. Now that the game is improving, the sentiment appears to have flipped, and the criticism is just aimed at there being any form of microtransaction existing at all. Let's make a few things clear. These designs were likely completed well before the release of the game. I imagine the plan was always to launch microtransactions along Season 1. Since that was delayed, we never saw these actually pop up in the game files on our end. They've likely existed for some time on DICE's end. Season 1 is rumored to be launching in June, since that's when the weekly missions run out, information again data mined by Temporal, and it makes sense that these assets were added in preparation for Season 1. While I understand that it might feel in poor taste to introduce more monetization into a game that was clearly incomplete for so long and is only now reaching a reasonable state, I also think it's very silly to think that this is what the devs have been working on up until now. They've clearly been focused on improvements and more content for the game, and this was absolutely done well before the launch of the game. Something that the executives and product leads would have placed the highest priority on, which is a philosophy that likely led to some of the issues the game has faced from a technical perspective. A lot of the cosmetic items especially were probably finished around release, maybe even before, and now it's just a matter of making them available to the player. The next bit of information is where things start to get really interesting though. DICE have already announced that specialists are the next topic for a rework similar to what they did for maps before. Recently though, Temporal was able to data mine indications that specialists will be reworked to fall within the traditional class system. From the image that Temporal provides, it appears the player would select a class and then select a specialist within that class that would probably cater to certain playstyles. Talked about this at length in other videos, but a prime hypothetical example of this would be using Falk as an aggressive combat medic with her Surette pistol. She can heal allies quickly and at range, though she's limited to only healing one ally per shot, while Angel would be a defensive medic with traditional health bag providing slower healing but longer term area of effect sustain for entrenched positions. And we do see the mention of the term combat medic in the image Temporal provides. I'd have to imagine that some of the traditional limitations around gadgets and grenades would apply within the scope of this proposed rework, but I assume weapons will still be completely open regardless of class and specialist. Freedom to choose any weapon you want was too big of a role in the marketing of this game, and I really doubt they would scrap that. Personally, I'm okay with the freedom of choice over weapons. I think part of the problem is that a specialist can be transformed to perform a lot of the duties of any traditional class, since the gadgets are not limited. In a lot of my games recently, I'm taking McKay with a health bag as a gadget. When my squad mates are around me, I can revive them. This essentially just makes me a hyper-mobile, aggressive medic, even though McKay feels like he should be something like an assault or recon specialist. Over time, I've grown to accept the idea of specialists a little more. They're never going away from 2042. While I prefer the things we've seen in the past with traditional classes, I can see a place for having specialists that cater to different playstyles within a class. I'd still like to see more customization for the appearance of the specialists. There's definitely still the issue of having dozens of clones running around the battlefield, and maybe that'll be something introduced as content in Season 1. While I'm sure a good portion of it will be paid content, I'm hoping to see a lot more that can be unlocked through gameplay. If DICE wants to steer away from offering full skins unlocked through gameplay alone, they can at least offer pieces like a helmet, torso, pants, and boots. But I want to hear from all of you. What do you think about some of these leaks? What would be your suggestion regarding specialists? Are you excited for Season 1? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike so I know you need to change something. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next video.